Have you ever had this problem that you find a good project on GitHub, but when you want to test it out, you have to actually clone the code and go through all the pain of installing dependencies, libraries, configuring different things just to keep that project up and running. And when you finally do it after a few hours, you realize it wasn't as good as you thought and you just wasted that 2-3 hours. Some people use Docker file or Compose file. That actually makes things much easier. You run the Docker and you spin up all the containers and just connect them together and everything just works out of the box. But even in that situation, there are some apps that are complex and consume too much resources, and sometimes they use a serverless services like AWS, and now you have to go and create an account, get a token, get an API key, private key, and all those things. Still very frustrating. There's actually a very simple solution. If you have a repository on GitHub, you can build and deploy a version of your app and host it directly on GitHub. When people come to your repository, they can see the final product and they can download it and use it without cloning and doing anything. Let me show you how you can do that. I've been working on this desktop app in the past few days, and I also have a GitHub repository for that. The problem is, if someone wants to use this app, they have to clone the code and go through all the process. How can I give them the compiled version so that they can just run the app without cloning anything? I can come here and say npm run make, which then compile the project and generate the final executable files. And I can just host them on a server or something. Instead of doing that, I can come to my project, create a folder called .github, and inside of that, workflow, and create a file called release.yml. And inside of this file, I can say, whenever I push the code to GitHub, do these steps for me. Install the node version, install all the packages, and build the final version for me. Another problem that I have in this specific case is because I'm running on Windows, I can only generate the Windows file, as you can see here, and I cannot generate code for Mac OS or Linux. But using this approach, I can say generate the file according to each one separately. You can see at the end, I can say publish the app, and you can see right here that under this release section, now I have my version 1, which if I click on, you can see that it generated all the file for my app. And if someone comes to my repository, they can come right here and just directly download the final version without needing to clone the code or do anything like that. So let me explain how that works, okay? Okay, so this file right here, it's using GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions is a CI/CD tool that you can use to build, test, or even deploy your code directly on GitHub. And you can do that on different operation systems. And when you use GitHub Action, it will only deploy your app if all the tests that you have has been passed. And the cool thing about this is if your repository is public, it's actually going to be free and you don't have to pay anything for this. So in this GitHub Action file, I'm actually doing two things. I'm building the app and I'm publishing it. I want to make it small change and see how the whole process works. I'm going to create a commit. Now, whenever you want to push your code and create a new version, you have to make sure that you actually use git tag and give it a version. So this tag is separated from your commit. So you commit your changes and you create a tag. I'm going to do that right now. Now you can push your code and then push your tags. When we come back to GitHub, go to the release, tags, and you can see right here, the new version is up. Now I go to this action part up here, and I can see there's two different runner has been run for the main branch and for my Git version. Let's open them up. There we go. So it's running 3 different jobs. It's actually doing it in parallel. As you can see, it's running it for macOS, Ubuntu, and Windows. Now let's go to Windows, for example, and you can see that it's creating the environment, package, installing all the packages, and then publishing the code. Yeah, the Ubuntu version is ready. Now we have to wait a little bit more for all version to be ready. All of them has been successful. Now I go to code, release, and you can see right here, the next version is in draft by default. And if I open it up, it has all the different versions. And I can just edit it, add some node, and then just publish it directly on GitHub, and you can see all the different versions for Mac, Linux, all that. And now you can just come here and download the latest version without being worried about the code and all that. There are all sorts of things that you can do with GitHub Action. You can do the length, you can handle your caching, you can even do SSH to your server if you have a server and you want to deploy on that server directly from GitHub. You can create a Docker image if you want. So I highly recommend that you check out GitHub Action and try to integrate it to your repository as I show you here. It's very simple. I will add to this page in description so you can check it out. And about this app that I just show you, if you don't know what it is, we have been working on this app in the past few weeks, and this app helps you to combine all your connection together. And I have a whole playlist on YouTube that show you step by step my thinking process and how we created this app from scratch. If you're interested to know about this, you can check out this playlist. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.